Today's topic is delegating and outsourcing, and if I'm really honest, I'd prefer to delegate and outsource this topic.
Outsource everything, Jay. You love it.
Oh, well, it's a bit boring. It's a bit of a drab topic, but let's start with outfit of the day. This is off Sheen. Um, looks like you're going to a christening. Who's christening in your pure white, Marie?
It's just called a hot day, Jay. So,
Oh, it's a hot day, is it?
mm,
Very
mm.
good. Um, what are we talking about? Delegating and
Oh,
outsourcing. And I'm highly qualified in talking on this topic because I'm a recovering ball hogger.
I think we've all been in that place. I think
Yeah.
anyone that has like a business is definitely the ball hogger in their own place and they don't want to let go of things. And it can be a challenge for most of us. It was a very big challenge for me. But once you let go, oh, you feel good.
Well, you get on a roll and then no one's safe. You know, they just need to look across the salon at you in a certain way and you've handed over responsibility to them.
That's right.
So I think before we get stuck into, you know, I don't think it's difficult to outsource or to delegate something. I don't think that's the real topic of conversation for today because to give someone a task,
Mm.
that's not rocket science. That's not that difficult, is it? It's
No.
it's the decisions that you need to make and the things that you need to let go of in your mind that
Mm.
that's what holds people back. But I think it'd be good to have a discussion of why do you uh, hog the ball in the first place? What leads us to the point where we can't let go, or we don't want to let go, or we're really
Yeah.
resistant to let go of things? Do you think?
It's a bit of I've always done it. I'm the one that's done it for so long. No one will do it as good as me.
Mm,
Imagine if I let go and they muck it up, like all of the things that go through our heads that override why you would hand it across to give someone else to do it. I think it all starts from here and our minds are blown to think that someone else could even do it. It's the that letting go is probably the hardest part.
mm.
Yeah.
And I think for me, when I first bought my business, um,
Mm.
I um, I went from a really high-end salon where standards were really high. And then the business that I bought, the standards weren't there. Um, they didn't see customer service or, consultation or any of the things that I was taught to do at a really high standard in the same light as what I did. So I think for me to hand something to a team member that I know didn't have the same values as me just felt impossible.
Mm.
So I just did. So it even got to the point like I had a receptionist, and if I heard the phone ring and she wasn't near the phone, I'd think, excellent, I'll answer it because I answer it better. But there was an element of truth in that though, because sometimes people say, I just do it better, and they don't. It's just a good excuse. But I legitimately did do everything better. I did. But the the thing that I should have done that took me years to learn is you need to communicate your standards and your expectations and train people on how you want things to be done because you'll get to a point where you can't keep on doing all of the things. Your
Mm.
bloody job list gets too big. Like, even because I'm a hairdresser by trade, rinsing colors, booking my own clients'
Yep.
appointments,
Yep.
drying off, like really basic things that I didn't do in my last job. I started to do in this job in my own business because I just didn't trust the team's ability to do things at the standard that I wanted the standard to be.
Mm.
So
Yep.
I kind
And
of
I
boxed
think
myself in.
yeah, you do. And there's so much that you can outsource, whether it comes to like marketing, admin, social media. maybe client admin stuff, like the admin that you might need to write notes, stock, website updates, depending on how that's all set up. And we still don't let go. And I think one of the things that I did, Jay, was or Noah did, was around if I hand it over, they're not making money. So like it's
Oh yeah.
I,
Yep.
yeah, it was I handed across and then she's not making money doing that skin treatment or that hair service. And I think when you think about, cost savings and replacing your time or their time, you've got to really start to weigh up, does this work? Yes, absolutely, it does work. And I think that was one of my biggest blocks was around, but they could make more money. Why would I give them that task?
Mm. Yeah, I've seen that before. I
Yeah.
think that wasn't really me. That wasn't on my radar of
Yeah.
the money thing. Um, and I think that proves the point that we hold on to things for different reasons.
Mm.
And it's interesting, and you would have seen this as well, Marie, that one um, one example of delegating is clients, right? Getting yourself off the floor and handing clients over to your
Yes.
team. And you can do it at more at the extreme end and completely come off the floor. And I know that I've experienced this and I've seen our coaching clients experience this, that when they completely come off the floor, they're not getting their ego stroked by clients telling them how beautiful they look and how great they are and how clever they are at building their business and blah, blah, blah. It can end up being a bit of a loveless job working in the back end of the business. So
Yes.
you've effectively delegated, outsourced the thing that is making you feel good about yourself, pumping your
Yeah.
tires
Yeah.
up.
That's right. And it's not necessarily the loss of control of it, but it makes you, it's feel good that you're losing.
To feel good. And because the clients do say, "Oh, look at you," and this and that, and "Oh, I love your top," and like you're
Yeah.
constantly getting little tidbits from clients and saying, "Oh, thank you, I feel amazing," and then spreadsheets don't say that to you. Scheduling social media posts, planning your meetings don't but there's got to be a balance, doesn't there?
It does. And when you start to delegate, the scalability of your business can change and the flexibility of your time can change. And I think that's what we don't see the other side of it because these, I suppose, they're minimal tasks that anyone can probably do if you actually think about it. Um, this is actually a big thing where your business can completely change the way you do things because you can focus more on specialized um, tasks to work on in your business.
Higher level things. I
Yeah.
we always say that when we talk about time management, it's one of the first things that we go through when we bring on a new client. We
Mm,
look at admin tasks. So things that don't move the needle in your business. And ultimately, it's not about handing those tasks over to your team.
mm,
Might be outsourcing, getting your bookkeeper to process your wages or pay your bills. Or, it's the tasks that you can pay someone 25, $30 an hour to do. Whereas
mm.
when you have a look at how much your time's worth when you're planning a VIP night, like you bring in $15,000 and you put in 6 or 7 hours worth of planning, that's a pretty bloody good hourly rate. So,
100%.
we've got
Yeah.
to back that level of skill. So, and I think sometimes, like what you said before, Marie, is that uh, your one of your challenges was overcoming um, if I give one of my team a task that's not hair or beauty or skin, I'm not making money. Okay.
Mm.
But it's also what's the value of the task that they're doing? Does that have a return? And what's it freeing you up to be able to do? Now you've got to think a couple of levels deeper. And that's a skill. You need to be trained on how to recognize those things. I
Yeah.
need to be trained on how to do it.
Yeah. And I think it's like when we shine a light on a coaching client and if they were to focus on certain core tasks that grow their business, sometimes it's hard to get their head around that because they're doing all these jobs that are really don't make them any money and anybody can do it. And it's interesting even when you hear what you said before, Jay, it's that, when you hear someone say that they've been doing their BAS, I think BAS, I was around when it came in 2000 and I've never done a BAS and I never choose to do a BAS because I think the amount of brain that I would have to use to get that to work and the time, I could be doing something much much better and much more efficient with my time.
Mm. And look,
Yeah.
I did all of my own reconciliation
Yep.
for Bass time. So I do like 95% of the work. And that was even at the point when, my partner Jeremy, he wasn't doing it. Laura Lee, the bookkeeper. It's funny, it was years before I actually met Laura Lee, and she updated her email thing with a picture of her. And I thought, I swear I haven't seen her, but the image in my mind was exactly what she looks like.
Hmm.
And Laura Lee Luckett is her name. It's like a porn star name, anyway.
It's
Certainly
like,
not a porn star, I can tell you that.
that's a little bit like our bookkeeper. I don't think you've met him, Paul Stephen.
No, I haven't met Stephen. I've met the other one.
Yeah. But you don't need to. This is the thing is you've got to outsource things right and correctly. And then delegating these jobs, you don't need to see the person. You can send it anywhere.
But I think, you know, you would still be able to log into Zero and go, everything balances and it's getting done correctly. Because I think it's important to delegate, but have an understanding of what best practice looks like. I think
Yeah.
about a friend of mine, her sister and brother-in-law, very successful, multi-million dollar business, and they've got on-site accountants that were doing the dirty on them, stole
Mm.
hundreds and hundreds of thousands because they thought you can do that.
Yeah.
Um, and you do trust them. It's like how you trust, a doctor. They say, "Hey, do this," and you think, "Okay." But
Mm.
I suppose that can be a fear for some people that, if I give something over and then don't touch it, don't look at it, set and forget, will I be screwed? Potentially. So I
Mm.
think as much as I don't do my best, you still know where the money's at. And I
Yeah.
think that's important.
Yeah, that's right. And sometimes it's just the checking and saying, why has this gone up more this month? Or you can definitely look into it or ask the questions, the same as if you go to the doctor. If you're not 100% sure on something that they're recommending, you can go and get a second opinion. And I think that there's nothing wrong with asking questions of things that people do for you so that you're aware and you have clarity on the whole process as well. And you can have meetings, it's like accountants, you can have quarterly meetings. You could have them with your social media manager so that you're aware, maybe where you're spending your money or what they're actually doing for you and what the results are. Mm.
I think to use as an example of some really um, common examples of things that get delegated to the team and then taken back. Stock,
Yes.
yes, stock. But also some responsibility of social media content. So
Mm-hmm.
stock and social media content often gets handed over and then taken back or drifts
Yeah.
away. Yeah,
Mm.
yeah, back and forward, hokey pokey. And it was only recently I was talking to a client that we've worked with on and off over the course of a few years, actually. And she's pregnant, having a bubby, and it was one of the necessary evils that she needed to sort out, which is I've got to hand stock over. And when we were talking about why do you keep taking it back, she said, well, she'll go into the salon and she'll see that the levels are way too high or way too low. And I just think, oh, what a mess. They
Mm.
don't care. It's not their money. So I take it back. I said, so the thing that's missing is then having that conversation and saying, Marie, I noticed that you've ordered too much. Show me what you've been doing. Let's make an adjustment so then we can move forward. Whereas
Correct.
what we do is we don't say that to Marie. We just say, I'm going to take back over now.
Mm.
Whereas,
It's probably that having quality control issues, like as in having conversation about it rather than just removing it from the team member because they can do stock. Like I used to have little Jojo do it. And how old was she? 15?
hmm, yeah,
You can do it. And April used to do it in the beauty side of the business and nailed it. She'd say, I'm in front, I've got credit. Like, and I'm like, because we used to set boundaries on what they could spend or percentages of, the stock that we were selling in a week. And I think they're things that you can easily do. I
Yep.
think the other thing, Jay, a lot of people get nervous about is the sharing some parts of the business around the confidentiality. So, like what they can see, like what they can see in the computer. So they just say, oh, it's easy for me, and they take it back.
Yep.
There's
Mm,
a lot of that as well.
yep. I think if your team knows how much you spend on stock,
It's good.
good, because it's a lot of money. It's
Yeah.
usually the second highest expense in a business, if not the highest.
Mm.
So I don't agree with that mindset. I've always been an oversharer on lots of different levels. But I think, look, I think if you were to hand over stock without a good stock process, shit's going to go wrong. We know that.
Mm.
But it's then going, okay, shit's gone wrong. You've spent too much, Marie. Let's talk about that and put a budget in place. All right, we'll put a budget in place. Now we're missing stock, so we have to cancel a client. Let's address that, put that in place. Let's address this. Let's address, like, it should develop and change.
Yeah. Like it
You
should
don't,
be a monthly meeting or something like that. There needs to be some sort of factors of how do we reassess it.
well, until it's nailed. So,
Yes.
like for an example, and I forget the analogy, but it's quite simple that if I'm doing stock, um, you will watch me while I do stock,
Mm.
and then next time you do stock and I watch you. And
Mm.
then the time after, you do stock and I check. I don't watch you. I
Mm.
just check whether it's been done to the standard. And then you, the one that's now doing stock, writes the protocol. Because I don't need to know the protocol, you do, because you're going to be doing the task. And the
That's right.
best way to commit a process to memory is to create it and write it yourself. Okay.
Mhm.
So what is it? It's do one, teach one, blah, 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 something like that.
Yeah,
Google.
it is. Yeah.
But and I think the thing is, you don't need a really clear, detailed, mapped out system. You just need to be open-minded enough to say, let's work on this for the next couple of months until we nail it. And then I might just check the order every fortnight, and then we'll go out to monthly, and then I'll just do a review quarterly. It's, you know, I think I still think it's smart to delegate something like stock,
Mm.
but if you can keep your finger in the pie to check quarterly, let's check the
Yeah.
levels. Let's
Yeah.
do the order together quarterly. And then you think, oh, I may as well do it myself. No, because you're only doing it once a quarter now, not every month.
Yeah. So probably more, it doesn't matter what you delegate, whether it's social media, getting your team to take pics or videos or whatever it might be, stock, whether you website updates, whether it's anything that you get someone to do within your business or you outsource to someone outside, it's about having some sort of form of checking that you need to
Yep.
do as a business owner. And maybe you
Accountability.
have like monthly or quarterly meetings depending on what the topic is or what the outsourced item is, so that you feel really clear that you're across it and they're across it, that there's never anything slips up and you don't feel like you ever have to take it back.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
I think if you feel like you need to take it back, then instead of taking it back, have a meeting and let the person know this isn't working and this is why.
Mm. Yeah.
So I think that majority of the issue is accountability, letting go in the first place, and then accountability. It hasn't been done to the standard or it slipped.
Mhm.
Okay, that's all right. Let's get back on the bandwagon.
Yeah. Yep. And I think maybe to think about when you give that task away, think about how much time that you've allocated. So if it's an hour a week for ordering, what are you going to do in that hour that can help scale your business? And if you're not sure, well, then you need to talk to us. But that definitely there needs to be part of your plan and your business plan of what do you work on, because there should be something in that hour that can scale and grow your business.
Mm. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So as a recap on that, and then I've got some questions. I did a social media post yesterday. You might have seen it. I'll submit your questions about delegating and outsourcing, and I've got some of my favorite ones written down here. What was I going to say? So as a recap, um, if you want to outsource something while you're doing the task next, just write
Yep.
down the process that you're following, and then hold their hand until they get it. Let them watch you, then you watch them, and then check.
Mm.
and be okay with the fact that you're a few steps ahead of them. So they may not get it to the quality or the standard in the
Mm.
time frame that you're expecting.
Yeah,
Okay?
definitely.
It's normal for people to drop the ball. Everyone does it, including you.
Hmm.
So there's that. Um, Hold them accountable. I think people feel really uncomfortable with holding people accountable. Often it's not the system, it's the person,
Yeah.
because the system doesn't change. The system's written on a piece of paper or in a document.
Yes.
But what about
So
the person?
leadership.
Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
leadership needs to be stepped into. Mm.
Yeah. And it's the same with social media content. They go, they don't take photos, they don't do this. He said, well, you know, it was funny. We were with a client recently in Melbourne, and she said, four of the five team members have submitted their hours for their pay. And one who I constantly remind still hasn't submitted the wages. I said, then pay her a basic wage and say, next time you see her when you're back in Adelaide, say to her, I've processed your normal wage because you didn't submit your hours in time. That's accountability. Yeah.
Yeah, I did that when two of my girls didn't put their hours in, and I handed it to Steve, and I said, "There's the hours for the week," and he said, "I don't think it's right." And I said, "That's okay. When they come crying for their wages, then they'll know that they need to do it next week," and they did. It's the
Mm.
best thing ever.
Mm. And look, is that frowned upon? Is it
Yeah.
right? Is it wrong? Whatever. A lot of what we talk about on our podcast is opinion only. But at some point, if you're smashing your head against a brick wall and they're not listening, and sometimes you need to go, well, how am I going to get these people to listen? But often it comes back to the business owner. It does. Oh, they're not taking pictures of clients. Then hold them accountable. Hold them accountable
Yep.
to, or allow the time in the appointment book
In
if it's that
one-on-ones.
valuable. Hmm. What
Yeah,
is
one-on-one. That's where you can connect with each team member to see what they're not doing right,
100%?
or you're not doing right, one or the
Yeah.
other. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Yep. Very good. All right, moving on. So let's have a look here. What are these questions? I've got a couple of written down.
Good.
Um, Most staff want to come to work and go. Oh, this one I picked this one because it triggers me. Most staff, also it's called team girlfriend, not staff. Most staff want to come
Hmm.
to work and go home. In my opinion, things have changed. Most staff want to come to work and go home. In my opinion, things have changed.
Yep. My answer, I think yes, it has, and they do, but you can still delegate something in the working time that they're there.
So,
Okay.
um, so I think then it's they need time allowed to be able to complete a task if the task takes any longer than 5 minutes.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yep. That's
absolutely.
fine.
I think the thing is it's you can delegate and outsource to people
Hmm.
um, to a high standard to a low standard. So you've got to think about um, are you selling this concept to them or are you going to them saying, I don't want to do this anymore, so you can do it? Or are you also delegating, outsourcing to your current team because you know that they'd be brilliant at it, they'd be doing it better than you, and it's also a part of their career progression because they want to have more input into the business. Okay.
Hmm.
So I suppose without context, it's hard, but it depends what you're delegating to them. If it's all the
Yeah.
shitty jobs that you don't want to do, then yeah, there could be a resistance, but also it could be a cultural problem, could be a culture problem that if you've got a great culture, people don't want to just come to work and go home.
No, that's right. And if you're giving them tasks and they're not even being there, they probably feel like, well, why can't you do it? Like, I think there's got to be better explanation around giving tasks, if you're not doing them. Yeah, definitely. Definitely more explanation.
But it could be delivered with energy. You could say one of the things that I'm working on this year is sharing the load across the team so we can all grow and learn together. I don't want to be the only one driving this business forward. I want your help. And
Mm.
I think that there's some things in the business that you guys can do better than me.
And that's said
I'm not all
beautifully.
knowing.
Yeah,
Um,
that's said beautifully. And then they go, oh, okay, we'll help. Like they're happy to help.
Yeah. Or I'm burnt out, I'm tired, I'm exhausted, I can't do this anymore. Like, you need to take some responsibility off my shoulders and, it's easy for you because blah, blah, blah. Then, yeah, they're going to want to come to work and go home. So, um, Sorry about that, Anonymous. There might be a big fat mirror being held up in front of you, but that's my opinion. You didn't really ask for. Um, all right, what's the next question? Oh, I like this one. Yes, that's why I picked it. Can you go too far and lose touch? I've worked for a boss that was never in the salon anymore. So I
Yeah.
think what she's trying to say is um, everything was delegated, outsourced. The boss went MIA and didn't have any input into anything. It just felt like she fell off the face of the earth. Something along.
Yeah.
Can you
And
go too far?
yeah, I think he can. That probably comes back to what I mentioned before. It's that whole handing everything. It's a bit like, there you go, and then you leave, where really have you explained it enough of what the true vision is? And I think if you knew what the salon's vision was, and like I know a salon owner we work with, and she's not in the business at all, and she has the most amazing leader, but she shares with the girls how proud she is. She shares with the girl what we're working towards as a business, and yeah, where we want to drive this business to. So the outsourcing is not a problem with the team if you're actually really, really caring and you do have like that vision you share. So I think you could give too much away, but I think generally it depends how you sell it in.
Mm. But I
Mm.
think also my answer to that would be if your team are led amazingly and all of their needs are met plus some, then they're not going to be worried about that.
No, never.
So if they're missing you because they miss you, that's nice. But if they miss you because shit goes down when you're not there, doesn't run as smoothly, then yeah, that needs to be addressed. Whereas I think if um, you're spending time with your team and they're growing professionally and personally, the culture's great in your absence, and they still are really clear who the leader is,
Yeah.
then yeah, I don't think it's a problem. So what the risk is for this person, if she's a salon owner and she says, my boss was never in the salon and she lost touch, therefore I'm never doing that," then you could stay busy like how I was because you think, well, I don't want to be like my old boss was.
Mm.
Yeah. Hence old boss, she's obviously left. So yeah, so that's interesting, isn't it?
Very.
Yeah. There was one question that didn't quite make sense, but it was worded in a way something like, um, sometimes you're just the best person for the job. And I agree with that.
Yeah.
Devil's
Yeah.
advocate. I do think that sometimes you are, if you've got a team of six and you're a part of that team, and there's one task that you do and you just do it better, you've got the choice to keep doing it or move it on and manage your expectations. And
Yeah. Yeah.
like, remember when David Dugan said to us years ago, um, if I could have someone come to your house and clean it for you, 80% of the house to 80% of the quality, what would you say? And I think we both said, I think it'd annoy me if
Mm.
they only did 80% of the house to 80% of the quality. And he said, so you've said no to the 80%, but you could have just finished the 20%. Wiped the smeared cupboards over and then finished the office, and you're done in 5 minutes instead of 2 hours. So you got to
Yeah.
focus on the 80% that was done well, not the 20% that was missed or not done properly.
Yeah, and that probably is a big problem for a lot of people. It's that there is a part of it where you always do it better for the reason actually that you enjoy it. Like you don't want to always delegate everything because you might really love that task, but that 80% is, I would say, that's my cleaner. I think she doesn't do it at 100%, but I tell you what, when I walk in, I feel so good. I think, oh, this is great. Like, and there might be a little bit. And I could talk to her until I'm blue in the face about that she doesn't do it to where I want it to be at.
Mm,
But I'm quite particular when it comes to cleaning the house. And I think if you are, but you've got to get past that. And I get over it. I think, no, that's fine. I'm happy with what she does.
mm, mm.
Yeah. So it's
Absolutely.
true. It's so
Yeah.
true.
Mm. Yeah. I went to see there was a few more questions in Instagram, but of course they've disappeared from the poll. So I think I
All
don't know
right. Yeah.
where they've gone, but that's okay. But while I've been rudely looking at my phone. My next client has rescheduled, so we're not on the tight time frame that I thought we were. So let's keep talking forever. No. So to wrap things up in a nice little bundle,
Mhm.
what's my parting words of wisdom? My parting words of wisdom is, for the most part, it's a you problem, not a team problem. And that's the good news. Because when it's a problem with you, you can learn and you can change it.
Love that.
Um, the other thing would be you're not better. You just haven't trained the team and they need more practice. Um, when the team drop the ball, because they will drop the ball. Uh, hold them accountable, but do it with love. You drop the ball. Everyone drops the ball. Okay.
Yeah.
It's just, hey, just a reminder. And it's one thing I'll say about Tyler that works on our team. She never cracks the shits with you having to remind you things 5 times in a row. Never. Does
She
she?
she reminds us quite a lot, 5 times.
Yeah. Actually, this is a test to see if Tyler listens to our podcast. Um, does she ever come to you and say, fucking Jay, I've reminded him 5 times? Because she does it with, oh, she does. Well, but the thing is, like a lot of people say, oh, we've got a great culture with no bitching. I think, no, you can't hold that in. Bitch about me to Marie, get it off your chest. Like,
Actually, she
bitching has
doesn't.
its role. Like, have a whinge, let the steam out.
She usually says, "I've messaged Jay 5 times about this, but I haven't heard from him. Is he okay?" That's it. That's her
Oh,
commitment.
see, she's got a
Yeah,
heart of gold. She really does. And but the thing
does.
is, but when she delivers it to me, she says, "I'm just letting you know. I've reminded you a few times, so I'll put it in your diary. Is that okay?" I go, "Yes, of course. I'm sorry." And so I don't look at my diary or my tasks and go, "I know what's going to piss Tyler off. I'm going to not do that task."
Yeah.
I don't do that. I don't have bad intentions, and she doesn't have bad intentions holding me accountable to these things. I want her to do that.
Yeah. And that's where it helps if you get someone else to do something or delegate, you've got to be open to that conversation. So that's a good learning. I think my parting shots would be you could be working on things that scale your business and grow the revenue to a completely another level by delegating or outsourcing things that maybe they are done 80 to 20, like 80% done and 20% not done. But how cool is that? That you don't have to spend the hours on end to be able to actually do the jobs that probably don't bring you joy anyway. And if they do, keep those ones, but everything else can be outsourced. You can outsource everything in
Hmm.
your life.
My mum did the stock for Jeremy Salon for a couple of years. The stock
Oh,
management. Oh, she can't because she's not a hairdresser. It's counting bottles. It's
yeah.
not hard. If you can do stock take for a drug room at a hospital, you can do stock take in a salon. You don't need to be a hairdresser.
No, that's right. Yeah, I know. It's underestimating what people can do. You've just got to explain it, come up with the process. This is how you do it, and then critique it if it needs critique.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
What's that on your shelf, on your fake shelf behind you, Marie? Looks like a big speaker, or is it? Oh, it's a TV.
Yes, that's a TV, Jay.
We've got our fake backgrounds on for people just listening to the audio, and it's because I've got a broken PowerPoint, so I quickly plugged my computer in. So I'm actually sitting on the floor with my legs crossed doing this Zoom meeting. So I keep on moving. I'm getting pins and needles.
Oh, not good. Well, let's wrap it up. I think this is a really good conversation, delegating and outsourcing. Just think about what you're going to delegate next. I think you're probably holding on to too many things. So let's work on your delegation and outsourcing to someone else.
Sounds good. Thanks, Marie.
Thank you. See you next time.
Ah.